What's going on, everybody? This is episode 383 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football. Um, I, y'all might hear some fireworks in the background, and it's cool because I'm doing this the night before the podcast is supposed to be up, so you will hear stuff in the background. That's fine. I don't mind that, but I'm a little peeved right now. Somebody across the street had some fireworks, and it happened to hit my house, and all the stuff, if you're looking at this on the YouTube's Rumble, all my stuff on the wall just fell down. And I had to go out there and check and make sure there was no damage to my house. Unfortunately, there's no damage to my house, but I swear the person across the street is going to get. Just tell them to keep it up. Just have them to keep it up. It may be a problem. Other than that, I'm not going to get into that. Let's go ahead and talk about what I want to talk about today on the show. Today we're going to talk about Julio Jones possibly returning back to the Falcons. We're also going to talk about Georgia Southern is recruiting really, really good players for 2023. I want to talk about that and what does this mean? And I really don't like to get into that, but I want to discuss it because it's kind of exciting because 2023 is down the road, but we're already in that mode to recruit at that year. That's pretty cool. So if this is your first time here, welcome. This is the First and Frame Rate Show. I'm VF Baller. I talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. I'm trying to keep my composure. I know you probably hear the fireworks in the background. I just hope nothing hits my house again because it's going to be a real problem. Nevertheless, let's go on with the show. Julio Jones possibly coming back to Atlanta. I'm actually interested about that. I don't know how that's going to play out. Julio basically left the team and went, didn't want to be with the team. We ended up trading him for a second round pick, which turned out to be Richie Grant. And I think it was Richie Grant. It was Richie Grant and somebody for this year. I can't remember. But nevertheless, I'm not really sure. I can't remember. It was so far back. But there's rumors of Julio possibly returning. How do I feel about that? I'm not going to hold you guys up too long about this because I know a lot of other people already talked about it. And I'm going to keep it short and simple. I don't care. I'm like, seriously, I don't. If he returns, that's great. Hopefully, we'll get a piece of what Julio used to be. But if not, I mean, we got enough receivers now that I think we're going to be okay. So I'm not really worried about that too much. So with that being said, I'm not making a big deal about it. If it happens, cool. If not, we still got games to play this season, and hopefully we'll win them. But with that being said, I got that out the way really quick and simple. I really don't care. But Let's get into what Georgia Southern is doing. I mean, Coach Clay Helton, what more can you say about him? Coach Clay Helton is out here putting in the work. He's doing a really good job at recruiting, changing the culture of Georgia Southern. Not that it needed much changing, but we needed a winning culture because the blue collar, lunch pail, I guess you could say that, get it out the mud type players from Georgia Southern. We always had that mentality, and we still have that mentality to this day. But I feel that we need to turn this to a more of a winning culture. And we can still have that, get it out the mud, blue collar, throw guys around, real tough guy mentality, nasty football mentality. But we need to equate that to wins. And it hasn't been on a consistent basis. But with Coach Clay Helton is what he's doing here, I think this is going to be a situation where we really going to have a winning culture if everything plays out the way it looks like it's going to. 2023, I don't like to talk about recruits too early because people decommit, they move, things change, stuff happens. But we got two recruits that was just recruited by Georgia Southern and they committed. One is Kareem Johnson, the guy that's on the right, 6'5", 215, and the other guy is Walton. I want to make sure I get his name right because I don't want to mess that up. I want to apologize. Like I said, I'm all over the place because of the situation happened with my house earlier. Guys out here playing games. Really don't want to dwell on that on the show. I do apologize about that, but I will say that I will say that getting these two guys that are at 6'5", 215 pounds, and I heard some insiders saying that they're going to be playing tight end or whatever the case may be, which is fine. I don't mind. As long as they get out there and they can catch the ball, they can play linebacker for all I care. You know what I'm saying? Long as they're able to catch the ball. So as Elijah Walton, I want to apologize to that, sir. Thank you for committing to Georgia Southern. Hopefully you'll be here to make some big, spectacular plays. And Mr. Kareem Johnson as well. Kareem Johnson is from Alabama. I'm actually surprised that we're pulling guys from Alabama. And Johnson was actually recruited by a lot of teams, not just for football, but basketball as well. He's a pretty good basketball player as well. So for him to decide to come to Georgia Southern and play football, that means a lot. It means a big deal because this team, this program is definitely on the rise. And you see a guy like Elijah Walton decides to come here. He's from Florida. So we're pulling guys from outside of the state. And on top of this, we already talked about what Georgia Southern has been doing when it comes to going to every county in the state of Georgia. But to get these guys this early, it makes me kind of nervous, but it makes me happy at the same time because these guys could be highly sought after. I mean, 6'5", 200+ pound receivers, tight ends, wide receiver, whatever the case may be. They don't grow on trees, you know, and it's really interesting to see what these guys are their mindset are when they want to come to a place like Georgia Southern with the tradition and the blue collar, you know, type of mentality that we have. Are we changing over to get away from that blue collar? Or are we going to implement that in what Coach Clay Helton is doing? Because from what Clay Helton has been showing us so far, it seems like he's more of a, you know, finesse style coach. But the flip of that, you see who he's recruiting. These offensive linemen, the defensive linemen, the guys on the front seven, big physical guys that are in the secondary, guys that can push guys around. I mean, we're looking at guys 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot type of, you know, cornerbacks and safeties that can, you know, that can make things happen defensively. And you look at the offensive side, we end up getting a 4-star recruit, running back that looked like he may be ready to go. You know, we got Colton, I think I'll say that right, Colton Fitzgerald just touched down in Statesboro this as of this recording, basically. Backup quarterback nonetheless, but I'm going to talk about him sometime down the road because I've been looking at some things about him, and you talk about quarterback of the future. I'm just going to leave it at that because we got some good quarterbacks here. And I mean, to the detriment, and I think that's one of the downsides to Coach Clay Helton, we got a lot of quarterbacks that could do some things. A lot of quarterbacks. And it's a good problem to have, but it's going to become a time some of these kids may want to play. So we got to be really careful about that. But something about this Colton Fitzgerald guy, between him and Zach Roseman, not trying to put the other guys on the back burner, but some guys have the it factor. I'm just going to leave it at that. But nevertheless, quarterbacks, running backs, you know, Omar Caspi is another one that's supposed to be here this year. I mean, we got talent. And for us, I'm kind of wondering, is this somewhat of an overload because we're not used to getting this type of talent come to Statesboro? Is it some type of an overload, or is it just something that most colleges go through? Do the Alabamas or the Notre Dames or the Georgias of the world recruit so many guys like this, and they just create a culture where they're just guys in waiting? But the only way that works, you're going to have to create a winning culture. So kudos to Coach Clay Helton getting these guys here, getting these guys committed for the 2023 season, even the guys he got for 2022. But when you look at the scheme of things, it's like you got to be a little nervous a little bit, you know, because for me, it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like some of these guys may say, hey, look, I can go play somewhere else. Because like I said, I know Kareem Johnson. I've been looking down his timeline. I mean, he was getting pickups from Troy, Memphis, Vanderbilt. I mean, he was getting some schools that can give him some, you know, leeway as far as, hey, you can play right now, but, you know, if you come through for 2023. But we also have to think about this. A lot of guys that are receivers now for Georgia Southern, they're not going to be here so much next year. You know what I mean? I mean, outside of Derwin Burgess and Sam Kennerson, I really don't know who the other ones that are here, except for the ones that are already, you know, that are committed. So you're going to have a lot of people that are here that are probably just going to end up being, you know, out, you know, as freshmen or going into their, you know, junior year. So you got these guys that's going to be able to play, you know, right away, because Coach Clay Helton, his offense, pretty much consists of a lot of receivers. So you probably have like 4, maybe 3, 4, 5 sets out there. So a lot of these guys that are, freshmen may get to play right away. And not only that, we also have to understand that with all the other recruits that are going around, this is probably one of the best plays with not just like you get playing time, but you get to play with that tradition and play it against a level of competition when it comes to the Sun Belt. Got new teams coming in, and some of those teams that have that level of competition may not have what we have to offer here. And we also have to remember with Coach Clay Helton, he's a guy that's put guys into the NFL. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that just here. And to be honest, I'm not sure if he was one of those guys that actually, I'm going to back that up for a second. I'm not sure that there's any other coach in the in the Sun Belt that has that type of, body of work to put in the Juju Smiths and the Drake Londons. And I want to say Patrick Tunner is another guy. I don't know the name. I will be, remiss if I knew that, but I think that's the name of all these receivers that have been put into the NFL. I'm like, these guys have an opportunity to probably make it to the next level because Coach Clay Helton has connections. You see the staff that he brought in? He brought guys from all over the Power 5 into the Group of 5 to give them an opportunity to show what they can do. So you got this coaching staff here. You got the coach who actually did something for himself despite what guys at USC may think. That's another story for another day. And there's that noise again, but I digress. You have, that type of level of recruiting and pedigree that's bringing to Georgia Southern. A lot of these guys are probably, akin to like, hey, I could make something happen here. So we might well go ahead and try to make it happen. And you got these big receivers, 6'5", and like I said, I don't like to go down too far down the road with this because these guys are 2023. Things could happen, things could change. But when you're looking at this situation, like, we're in pretty good hands. And I understand a lot of people may say, I gotta see it to believe it, and I gotta see what they do against Morgan State. I have to see what they do against Nebraska, which we are having an 8% chance to win that game. I don't want to talk about that right now, but that's okay. But it's another story for another day. And then you got guys like that are coming in that I'll back that up for a second. You got these other teams that we have to face, and other people are going to be like, I have to see it to believe it. And I'm not trying to say, this is not a place where we just throw pom-poms up for Coach Clay Helton, but for what he's done so far, I can't help but to commend him. The only thing I can say wrong is, look, man, you recruited too many too many quarterbacks, in my opinion, which is not a bad problem to have. But when you look at the scheme of things, like, what are we doing here? Which, like I said, I think I said this earlier. If I didn't, I'll be remiss. I apologize. I think either Zach Roseman or you have Colton Fitzgerald, who just touched down in Statesboro today, or after the time of this recording. I think he has that it factor. Something's about him or Zach Roseman. But we have a lot of quarterbacks that could throw to these big receivers, tight end, wide receiver, whoever want to call them, but it's going to be a nightmare matchup for any of them. Any of them. So, and there's also other rumblings that we're going to be getting some other players down the road. So 2023 is looking good. I don't want to talk too far ahead of myself, but 2023 is looking good early. 2022 has already looked good so far. I can't wait to see what some of those kids can do on the field. I'm looking at 8-4. A lot of people say differently, and I'll give Coach Clay Helton, an honest assessment. I want 8-4, but I also believe you got one losing season. I don't want to have more than one losing season. The first year, okay, it's a mulligan. All right, I'll back off my 8-4, but that's the only losing season. We can't have two losing seasons. I'm sorry. One, I'll give you one. We have a winning season. The two winning seasons, we slide back and have one losing. Okay, all right, But no, I want to see this flourish. I want to see this happen. So let me know what you guys think, man. Look at these recruits, 6'5". We got Elijah Walton, Kareem Johnson, Julio Jones. What is he going to do? Is he coming back to the Falcons? I don't care either way. But these 2 6'5" receivers is something to look at. I'm really interested to see how that goes. Thank you guys for all the support. Like, once again, I can be found on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. I'm also on YouTube and Rumble. Thank you guys for all the support. Give me a 5-star rating on that star chart. Also, give me some feedback if I'm not doing something right or whatever the case may be. And I thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one. Once again, man, I can't thank you guys. Wednesday, we'll be back at it once again. Hopefully you guys had a great 4th, and that'll be all. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.